Hi everyone, welcome back to Life Spirit and the Messy Middle. Now today's video is a bit of a complicated one. It's something I've been wanting to do now for a long time, especially because of what's going on in today's world. And to some it may sound a little bit far-fetched, but hear me out. Because I do think if your intuition listens to this and maybe something comes to life from it inside of you, like your inner knowing, then I do suggest you do more research for yourself, of course. And obviously, you know, before I go on, I just want to let everyone know this is all for entertainment purposes only. Okay. I'm a card reader, I'm an intuitive, an empath, and I do a lot of these things for entertainment purposes only. Okay. Just so the overlords of the YouTube don't flag me down. Okay, so now one of the oldest stories that has ever been recorded in human history comes from ancient Mesopotamia. It is the story of Gilgamesh, a king whose legend has echoed basically across thousands of years and continues to rise or to raise questions about the origins of civilization and the deeper history of humanity. Now, according to ancient Sumerian records, Gilgamesh ruled the city of Uruk, and this is located in the southern Iraq. And Uruk was one of the first great cities on earth. And the ruins of its walls still stand as evidence of one of the earliest urban civilizations today. Now, he was described as, excuse me, as two-thirds God and one-third man. And he possessed unmatched physical beauty, superhuman strength, and about 5 meters tall. He was so powerful that some ancient artwork even, you know, depicts him holding a full-grown lion, you know, under his arm, just like as if he was like a small animal, like a little cat or a kitten or something. And he was also known to have immense wisdom. And he was depicted as a very complex, often contradictory figure who evolves basically from an arrogant tyrant, oppressor, into a very wise and just king. Now, his mother was the goddess Ninsum, often known for her wisdom and her ability to interpret dreams like a seer. And his father was Lugalbanda, a semi-divine king and priest of Uruk. Now, because of this lineage, Gilgamesh was actually believed to possess both divine and human qualities. And in the Epic of Gilgamesh, I would ask everyone to look it up who's interested in this story. This unusual lineage becomes central to the story. The Epic of Gilgamesh basically states that his companion, Enkidu, dies. And after her death, Gilgamesh becomes deeply troubled by the idea of his own mortality. His thought was, if he's part divine, then why must he still die? So this question basically sends him on a very long journey in search of immortality. Now, bearing in mind, this was over, 3,000 years ago. So now his travels eventually led him to Utnapishtim. And Napishtim is basically the survivor of the Great Flood, which in today's traditions he's often seen of as Noah. Now, Unapishtim, basically what Gilgamesh thought was that he held the secret to eternal life. And the epic basically becomes a story about the struggle between the divine and the human being, within. Now, Gilgamesh is known as an extraordinarily powerful, yet he cannot escape the reality that part of him is still mortal. And for many, even today, the story represents one of humanity's earliest reflections of life, death, and the search for meaning. Now, many others from this story think that this raises deeper questions. If ancient texts repeatedly describe figures who are part divine and part human, some people begin to wonder whether these descriptions were symbolic, mythological, or perhaps reflections of something that ancient civilizations believed quite literally. And this is where interpretations connected to the beings known as the Anunnaki often appear. Now, in Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki were powerful beings, very, very powerful beings associated with the heavens or space, okay? And early ordering of basically the world, they were the ones who made us, okay? It is believed, anyway. Some interpreters suggest that these beings played a role in shaping all of humanity. And within these interpretations, figures like Gilgamesh are sometimes seen as examples of a hybrid lineage, individuals described as part human and part divine. Now, whether we view this as symbolically or even literally, the idea continues to basically capture the imagination of many people exploring ancient history. And these interpretations are actually often connected to a broader region known as Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. This region has been widely known as the cradle of civilization. Now, I want you to really think about that. The cradle of civilization, okay? It was here that agriculture expanded, cities formed, writing emerged, and some of humanity's earliest history were recorded, okay, on clay tablets. Now, because of this, Mesopotamia holds an extraordinary amount of ancient knowledge about early human culture and even belief systems. And some researchers actually believe that many ancient sites in this region may still contain artifacts or even records that have not yet been fully understood. Now, this idea becomes especially prominent during the early 2000s, okay? Because when conflict in Iraq began, it brought the attention to the looting of Iraq's National Museum in Baghdad. Now, many witnesses and museum officials basically describe a very chaotic scene where thousands of artifacts disappeared during the invasion of Iraq by the US. Some observers even believe that certain items removed from these museums or archaeological sites may have contained extremely important historical information. Among those artifacts often discussed are cylinder seals, ancient tablets, and fragments of text connected to early Mesopotamian literature. One actually particular artifact was connected to the Epic of Gilgamesh, and it's known or called the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet. And the tablet was smuggled through various countries. Eventually, it was purchased by an antiques dealer in London in 2003, and later it was sold to the Hobby Lobby for a display in the Museum of, get this, the Bible in Washington. Okay, now I'll get to that in a little bit. Now, stories like this have led some people to ask whether ancient artifacts might hold knowledge about early civilizations that has not yet been fully explored or explained. And Mesopotamia also contains some of the most mysterious structures of the ancient world, including massive stepped pyramids known as ziggurats. And traditionally, these structures, they're described as temples, but sometimes interpretations may suggest that they have also served like almost as astronomical or ceremonial purposes that are connected to the ancient understanding of the cosmos, for example. And in fact, modern theory suggests literally that a stargate is buried beneath the ziggurat, especially the one at Ur, near the modern city of Nazira. And I'm pretty sure that's how you say it, Nazira. And proponents often claim that in 2003, the Iraq War was motivated by the US and their close allies, starting with the letters IS, also in the Middle East and now occupied Palestine, desired to seize this ancient technology. And now, moving on a little bit from that, because it's deep, I know. Ancient history into our modern world, and moving on to another concept. Sociologists also describe modern civilizations as being structured, okay, around our social institutions, for example. Now, these institutions include government, economic systems such as banking and the education that transmit knowledge and culture, health systems that regulate public health, and cultural institutions such as the family and religion. And together, okay, these institutions form what scholars call the social structure of a society. And they basically shape how information is shared, how history is taught, and how cultures understand their past. Now, that's really important for you to understand. This is the concept of why I'm making this video today, because some people, including myself, believe that when certain influences spreads across multiple institutions methodically for a certain purpose or even narrative, over time, it can shape how we as a society see history and civilization, especially if it's implemented into our schools to shape what our children believe. Now, I have a wonderful friend whom I love very dearly that has trouble believing in what's written about history. Now, I don't blame her. I love learning about history, and I understand today more, learning about more things and coming to my own kind of conclusions that maybe what has been written and what has been taught to us in schools isn't exactly the truth. Just stay with that for a minute, okay? Now, many people believe humanity may be currently experiencing a combination of planetary shifts, conjunctions, and an accelerated evolutionary transformation. And this idea, often discussed through the lens of astrology, describe long cycles of human civilization known as ages. Now, for roughly the past 2,000 years, I think it's just a little more than 2,000 years, humanity has been associated with the age of Pisces. And this period is often connected with hierarchical structures and centralized authority, a strong institutional system, okay, where we're being taught and told what to do, what to believe, and how to be. But many believe, including myself, that humanity is now moving toward the age of Aquarius. In fact, we are now experiencing and in the age of Aquarius. And then the age of Aquarius is very often described as an era of decentralization, shared knowledge, networks of information, and greater awareness among individuals, okay? That is a form of waking up, okay? Now, for people who follow this perspective, these rapid changes we see in technology and communication and global systems may reflect a transition between those two areas, okay, or those two eras. And some interpret this transition as a time when more individuals begin questioning old narratives and exploring deeper questions about human origins, consciousness, and our history. Within this broader view, many believe that the story of Gilgamesh becomes more than just an ancient legend or myth. It becomes part of an older conversation about where humanity came from how civilizations were formed, and what knowledge may still remain hidden within the earliest records of our human story and history. This is thousands of years of the epic, and it was written onto, clay tablets. And the questions do raise, today, as in my belief, what did the earliest civilization truly know? And how much of our ancient past has actually been lost? Now, let's talk about what I see and believe has been happening. Now, I've been having extremely vivid dreams, and these interpretations of these dreams, as well as my empathic intuition, tells me that there is an ancient power that has been hiding behind false fronts. They pretend to be religious and political leaders, but their true ideology is supremacist and occultish. They actually believe they are a different race, and one that is fundamentally superior to the rest of humanity, to you and me. And they keep this power they have by infiltrating every structure that makes up our world. And they control most major social institutions, the governments, the banks, the medical systems, and even our media. And it is designed to keep us basically in a state of amnesia, where we are disconnected from the original source and the true powers that we actually possess within us. Now, I truly believe that this WAR we have been seeing in not just our recent past in Iraq, Syria, but in today, Iran, is a form of a cleaning operation. And these places, as I said before, are the cradle of civilization, and they hold artifacts and history of our real origins. The history of the Anunnaki, whom many very intelligent people believe are where we came from. We were made by them. And by seizing these lands, they are trying to erase the human record, basically, and replace it with their own. But they have been rushing it as of the past 5 years, 6 years now. And one of the biggest reasons why I believe, and many believe they're rushing it, is because, and as I have said before, astrology tells us the clock is running out for them. We are leaving the age of Pisces, which was all about the secrecy and the centralized control. And we're moving into this new age, okay, of Aquarius, where the truth cannot be hidden anymore. And this global push for digital control and surveillance, the suppression of our speech, and this complete lack of a rules-based order, which, don't forget, our countries, including mine in Australia, agreed to this rules-based order after World War II. And now it almost seems like they're finding loopholes to evade, okay? Just like billionaires use many, many loopholes to evade paying tax, for example. It's a last-ditch effort to try and lock down the human spirit before the awakening takes hold. But it's too late. It's already taken hold, and it's growing massively. People are now becoming more and more aware, more and more people are becoming more and more aware of that something doesn't quite make sense. Okay? Many people believe that these structures, okay, want to keep us as slaves. And they see us as belonging to them. We are their servants. We are, I don't want to use the term, but I am going to. We are the Goyim, okay? And these systems are now starting to crack. People are finally starting to remember their birthright. Now, I, for one, am trying my best with this video and others that I have done. If you're willing to listen to them, and I hope that you are, to make sure that doesn't happen, okay? And like me, there are many, many light workers who are on YouTube and in other platforms willing to give you some advice, some answers, not all answers, but in order to help you understand your own powers at least, so that you do not fall under the trap that they are trying and have been trying to provide us for decades, okay? We possess the true source, and it's very powerful. We have the abilities, and this is something that I've been learning and trying to practice. We have the ability to heal ourselves. We don't need these chemicals that the pharmaceutical companies keep providing us with. Okay, now I understand that it's something that we need to keep practicing and believing in and trying to do, and that at the moment it is very hard not to. I myself have, autoimmune diseases, and I need the medications that these pharmaceuticals provide in order to keep going. But I need everyone to understand that this is not the only recourse. Use your intuition. Use the powers that you have within you. Go within yourself to understand. And when someone says something that doesn't feel true to you, listen to that intuition. Okay? Now, I'm going to end this here. I want to just be able to, in saying all this, I'm going to use the method that I normally use for reflection and perspective, and that is by reading the cards. I will do a reading. And what I want to know is, will the world finally wake up and move on from, I'm going to say, the Matrix in a way, okay? From this, from this slavery that they've kept us in, from these lies, trying to keep us from our true source. Some people call it God, some people call it the source, the universe, whatever you want to call it, okay? It's real. And it's not really, I don't believe, the way our institutions, our religious institutions, have depicted it. We don't need that sort of, information, or going to a certain place to get, or to certain people like priests and pastors, to be able to get the information that we need to help us, because we have it within ourselves. We can get that information from our guides. We all have them. All you have to do is be willing to listen to them. Okay? Now, let's do the cards and see what the cards can tell us about what I have just said in regards to what I believe is happening with these wars. I don't want to be flagged, so WAR in the ME, and the true nature of these wars, and whether we are truly waking up, and how we can, survive. I wouldn't say survive, we will survive, but cope with what's coming. Because let's not forget that they are doing everything they possibly can, okay, to discredit what I've been saying, to call us liars and conspiracy theorists, and crazy, just to continue their own agendas. Okay, now, as usual, please take what resonates with you and leave what doesn't. And we shall see what the cards have to say and what comes through, okay? All right, should I bring you down? Okay. Okay, let's just get all these things out of the way. I've got my little protection crystals right here. Alrighty. Now, as usual, I'm using my favorite Rider-Waite tarot. And I have shuffled. Now bear with me while I just concentrate. Okay, first card, the Queen of Swords. Second card, the Knight of Cups. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. I may have to do a bit of this is a Knight of Pentacles, and the Court cards really wanted to come out today. Okay, let's get you back up here. Alrighty. Oh, just a little bit more. There we go. All right. Yeah. Just bring you up a little bit more. This. Sorry about all the fiddling. Now, the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords represents truth and no nonsense. Okay. And what I'm getting from this card is basically we need to start pretending, okay, that everything that is happening is for our own good. Okay? It's not. It's for the elite, powerful billionaires and ideologists who believe they are superior to us and humanity, have our best interests at heart, because they do not. Okay? And we're witnessing this through the e-files, where in some countries, they're throwing certain people under the bus to protect the hierarchy, okay? And in others, like in the US, for example, nothing's happening. They just keep doing whatever they're doing. In fact, they keep trying to not put out those files because a certain person who runs that country is mentioned in it more than 100,000 times, and he's not in the files. He is the files. I'm sorry if you don't like that, but it's true. He's done a lot of messed up things all his life. His family did a lot of messed up things. So, it runs in the family, unfortunately. And he's part of the hierarchy. He's protecting all the men and women who have the power and the money they provide him with in order to keep it quiet, basically. And this card here is basically telling you, us, that, you know what? Look at what's happening. Look at the truth. Stop believing everything that you see and hear. Okay? No nonsense. No nonsense. Get over yourself. Okay? We need to start understanding the purpose of what is happening today. What is the purpose of going into a nation where we are told that we need to save these people? We need to regime change because these people are bad and their government is trying to hurt their own people. Then why don't we go into North Korea, for example? Why don't we go into China? They say those governments are really, really bad. Why aren't we going there? Do you understand what I'm saying? So the Queen of Swords. Listen to your own truth and no nonsense. Okay. She also represents justice, and justice is what's happening, is starting to happen. You may not see it because, again, our media doesn't want to cover that. Our media is all owned by these elites. So no, you're not going to get any truth out of them. Okay. The next card, the Knight of Cups. Now, the Knight of Cups is he's a lover at heart, okay? He's offering a suggestion of love and humanity, of being able to look at things in a more gentle way as well, okay? We don't have to hate anybody in order to understand what's going on. We know what the hierarchy is trying to do, but that doesn't mean that your neighbor, who, for example, may follow and believe what that hierarchy is doing, don't forget that these people have also been taught to believe that. They don't know anything else, okay? And I'm pretty sure that the Knight is offering us some form of peace and understanding, even knowledge. He's coming with the knowledge for humanity to be able to get together and fight against what these people are trying to do to us. Okay? Okay. And the Knight of Pentacles, another knight. The Knight of Pentacles is probably the slowest moving card in the court cards. Okay, he's very pragmatic. Okay, he's very, as long as he's comfortable, he's got what he needs. That's all that matters to him. He's fine. He doesn't really, he's got enough money. He's got enough of his little luxuries around him that he doesn't, really bother with anything else. So he's not a bad card. He's just a little bit, I think, fickle, because, just because you may have, or look like you have everything you want, doesn't mean that it's everything that you need. Okay? And what humanity needs right now is not riches and our what we call our comforts. We need to come together as a community. We are going into a really, really bad recession here. I mean, extremely bad. It's going to be so much worse than the last ME war. And when I say ME, I mean a certain region in the ME. Okay. It's going to be so much worse than that. Okay. Because we rely today on our social media. Many people rely on our social media to survive, and there will be blackouts. Okay. There will be a lack of food. There will be a lack of water. I will suggest that people start getting their, cans of food and bottles of water and gallons if they can, get as much water as you can in, and as much food, anything that doesn't, expire so easily, because there's going to be a lack. This is the intention. Okay, we're going to starve them to death or starve them into submission, and we're going to make sure that they go without so they can be submissive to us and we can control them. Okay, that's basically what it is. I mean, I just went down to the shops the other day and there's already stuff running out. And our gas prices have gone up almost $1. So, yeah, all right. Now, what I believe this card is trying to tell us is don't get too comfortable, because you need to stand up for your rights and you need to face reality. And even though you don't need to go out there and fight physically or protest, you need to do things another way. Look, I've recently given up many of the little comforts that I had. I don't watch Netflix anymore. I don't watch any of that. I don't subscribe to many other platforms. I've given up things like TikTok, and any place that is going to suppress. Even with Facebook, I'm very limited to how long I go on there. Now, do I need these platforms? Yes, I do. But I refuse to become reliant on them. Okay? I really hope that you understand what I am trying to relay here. Okay, I'm just going to do one more or a few more card pulls. Actually, I'm going to put these back. Let's put these back in different places. Okay, just so that and I'm going to shuffle again. And this time I'm going to ask, will humanity get through this? Will we come together like we are supposed to? And fight the oppression that we are being forced to submit to? Okay. Okay. I'm going to bring you down so you can see these cards, okay? I just got the 8 of Cups. The Page of Pentacles. And the Emperor. And I can tell you now exactly what I am getting from these cards. Let me just bring you up here. Okay. When I was pulling these cards, what I was getting really strongly is that we need to walk away. Okay. We need to walk away, okay, from the naivety that we have been fed with, the lies, of course, which makes us naive. We have been very naive because we believe and we trusted in our systems to keep us safe, and they're not, okay? So walk away from this naivety and boss up. Okay? Remember who you are. Remember that this isn't everything, okay? We don't just live once. We're here for a purpose, and we came here at this precise moment in time for this reason, because humanity needs to change. We are not living a very sustainable lifestyle, okay? We cannot sustain this inhumanity, this lack of order, this lack of do whatever you want to whomever you want, whenever you want, doesn't matter, because, you know, they're not important. Everybody is important. We are all human, okay? Sorry, we're a little bit crooked here. We are all human. We are all beings with a soul and love. And we need to remember that we are so much more than just this fickle matter, okay? This body that we are incorporating in this lifetime, because we haven't had many, okay? Now, I hope that you understand what I've been trying to say. And whether you see what is happening is a fight for our souls, or just another war among many others, or another, you know, cycle of life among many others, just remember that there's always a safe place, even though it could be maybe in the messy middle. Okay? I love you all. Please like, please subscribe, help my channel grow, help me get my words out. And I will see you next time. Bye for now.